Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for the Game Plan in this special collaboration with sportsboom.com. I'm happy to be joined by my guest today who's going to be talking about this exciting new role he has right now with the Milton Magic FC. He is a former MLS and Canadian international defender, Doneil Henry. How you doing, Doneil?
Doing great, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And Doneil, this is an exciting time for you, assuming a new role with the Milton Magic. So, how did this all come about for you of taking this role as a technical director for the men's side?
Yeah, it's nothing that really came at short notice. This has probably been in the year to date in the making. I think this kind of started to come together once I moved to Milton. It's been about a year now that I've been living in the Milton community and meeting with Phil, and also Jason Victoria, Stephen Victoria's brother, also a Miltonian who I get along with very well with that family. And he kind of put me in touch. And from there, I met Dave Benning. And yeah, we just, a lot of, when it comes to football and building a community and building the club and what a town like Milton or a club like Milton needs, everything kind of aligned. And when you talk about football and how small knit the football community is, I thought that this would be the perfect next step for myself and where I want to continue to go.
That's great. And you mentioned the tight knit community there, and all these groups that come up, and you see like the towns and when they rally around the team like that. So when you see that tight knit community build from the ground up, from the grassroots level, does it make it more exciting for you as a former national team player to get back in there?
Yeah, absolutely. I know this is the foundation that made me have an opportunity to play and live my dreams. So now that my career is over, it's all about the next step. And the next step is also educating, but also giving them from the mental standpoint what it takes on the day-to-day grind and the makeup of a professional athlete. And like I said, what's actually been one of the things that resonates with me since I've had my first conversation with Jesse March is don't wait till you get to the national team to start building intensity. That needs to start right now. If we can start putting that in the DNA and the identity of these players from young and early, like I said, the landscape of a Canadian player, athletic, um, we we do have a lot of very, very good traits when it comes to the style of play that you now see in the Canadian system. So we have to use that, but we got to train it. It's something that will take a lot of time because the conditioning comes into play. But no, exciting times.
Definitely there. And you mentioned Jesse Marsh there, and the conversations I've heard him have in the past with the media about like developing a player and finding them and like seeing how they are and maybe giving them opportunities. You're a player that's had experiences going abroad, going to England, and then even in MLS. So from that standpoint, is there like an area or an age group where these kids could be identified earlier to maybe get that opportunity to have the kind of move that you had abroad?
Yeah, I think when we talk about a child's development, I think grassroots is obviously the most important. Just having kids fall in love with the game. More than teaching them anything tactically, that's not important at the point, but getting them comfortable with the ball mastery, having them enjoy the game, and then from there, then we can start teaching the competition side of it, and them competing and battling and doing all of that. I think that when you put all of that together, when they start getting around the ages of 13, 14 years old, then you start talking and putting in the tactical identity in their team and start helping them. Because from then, they start understanding the game on another level. And I think as long as you continue to keep the game fun, but you also are able to now challenge them in certain ways, but also not give them everything. You know what I mean? I feel like, especially in our country, we like to glorify our players. And I think sometimes you have to understand it's not that we don't think that they're doing well, but sometimes too much at the wrong time, then they feel like they've made it already. And the reality is until you start traveling, and I think the first time I've been humbled was kind of 16 onwards to starting with the men's team. Then there was my first my learning curve where I took a dip and then my confidence, etc. But once I moved and changed countries, did I understand that there's always going to be players, and I always tell players there's probably 10,000 better players than you than every single country that we play in. And I think it wasn't until that moment that I know that I'm not doing enough here where I am. So you might be the best where you are, have standards and know that, yeah, if you now leave this country and go somewhere else, why should they pick you over what they have? If you're just what they have, they will go with theirs. So you have to be special. And when I say special, it's the people who are willing to do the dirty work, do the extra work, the things that don't get glorified in the game. But like I said, from a coaching standpoint, the stuff that made the biggest difference is the little small, detailed, the little precisional things that really make the difference.
I agree, and it's great to learn that, especially younger players. And I'm sure you explained there that situation of your experience. So, what do you hope to instill in them? Some of these players in Milton right now, and who is that maybe the mentor or even a coach that instilled that in you?
I would say the coach that first got me to work and live beyond my capacity would be Stuart Neely. Stuart Neely was my academy director, and he's the one that really got me to start working harder than not just doing my job and doing it at a level, but really like the day-to-day grind of a professional. I think being in a place where I also seen professionals walk by me, play, interact with me, also let me know that these players are these people are humans. And that also changed my thinking that, hey, I can be just like them. They're human. They can make mistakes. They're etc. So I think just having my presence and being able to talk to the kids every single day, challenging them, working with them, getting the intensity up in training, but also the human aspect of knowing about them also lets them know that, hey, you have an opportunity, but this is what it takes. And that's what I want to be for every single one of these kids in the community.
That's great. And I just want to transition a bit to the World Cup. It's an exciting time here. We finally had the draw. Canada found out who they're going to be playing in the group there once they host it. The States also found out who they're going to play in Mexico. So with Canada's group, though, UEFA Path A could be Italy, but then you see the other teams in the group like Qatar and Switzerland. How do you think they match up with these teams?
I like our group. You know what I mean? I think it's a group that we can definitely get out of. When you talk about Switzerland, obviously a top 15 nation, but when you look at that team, no one really pops out that you say, oh, that's what world class is. That's dangerous because that is a very, very tactically organized team. Why I like these type of teams is that eventually when we get into those areas where we now isolate our players in those 1v1 scenarios, I like our chances over anybody. You know what I mean? Tactically organized teams are great when they're in structure and shape, but when there's chaos, how do they handle that? So I do like our chances. Once again, Qatar, another good quality side, but I just think if we're having this conversation even 4 years ago at the last time where we had no experience, maybe I would be a little bit, but I really like our chances. And I've been saying it for over a year. I really want to have that Italy game. I don't know if God's answering my prayers, but
Me too.
Italy at BMO Field is, like I said, just for the people, for all the football lovers. We do have an amazing Italian community here in Toronto, especially. So I think our people deserve to see that game against Canada. And like I said, I know it's been a difficult time for Italian football. And this would be, I think, the third consecutive World Cup that they would be missing. But nonetheless, I don't want to take away from the team that I'm supporting in Canada and making sure that we will be tactically ready. And like I said, Jesse's done a really great job revolutionizing this team and being that lead voice and giving our players the confidence to know that we can stand up in front of anybody and play.
And just a final question here on that. Like, I'm sure you've seen the United States, what they've done also. Pochettino coming in. They also have bold aspirations in this World Cup. So how do you think they're going to be faring in their group? And possibly, like, out of the hosts there with Canada, Mexico, like the States, do you think they have the most pressure?
Honestly, I haven't put too much thought into to what the U.S. will be doing. It's, when you battle them all the time, you play with them Sometimes I see us as the same, but like I said, the pressure is always going to be on each country. Like I said, representing your country is probably one of the biggest things. And I say club football and playing for your country are two different games. It's war. You know what I mean? So you have to win the battle first. That sense of pride and belonging and what you're standing up and doing it for. You can't teach that. So I already know, as the host nation, ourselves as Canada, the U.S. and Mexico, we're going to be playing with that extra little bit of pressure. And like I said, that little bit of extra pressure is good. It opens up, and like I said, for the passionate fans who are going to be able to watching it live, I know that all three nations will show up.
And Doneil, really appreciate you sharing your time here and coming on to speak to me about this and sharing your insight here. And I wish you all the best with your new role at Milton Magic FC.
Really appreciate it, man. You take care.